Whose second-half comeback boosts top four hopes? Chelsea boosted their hopes of Champions League football next season by coming from a goal down on their return to Premier League action to beat Aston Villa 2-1 at Villa Park. After dominating the majority of the first half, Frank Lampard's side found themselves trailing at the interval when, firmly against the run of play, Kortney Hause tapped home from close range in the 43rd minute to send Villa into the break with a shock lead. However, the visitors responded with two quickfire goals, as strikes from substitute Christian Pulisic, 60, and Olivier Giroud, 62, completed the turnaround to secure all 3 points. The victory could prove crucial for the fourth-placed Blues, who move 5 points clear of Manchester United and Wolves in 5th and 6th respectively, in the race for a top 4 finish. Meanwhile, the defeat is another blow to Aston Villa's chances of staying in the top flight. Dean Smith's side remain in the relegation zone, 1 point adrift of safety. How Chelsea fought back to stun Villa. Chelsea started in confident fashion and they dominated possession from the very first whistle, pinning Aston Villa firmly back in their own half. Their first real opportunity came in the 20th minute when Mason Mount's drive from 20 yards was punched away by the diving Orjan Nyland. It was seemingly a case of testing Nyland from all angles after the ghost goal incident in Villa's 0-0 draw with Sheffield United last Wednesday. Mateo Kovacic was next to test the Norwegian goalkeeper, and he spilled the midfielder's shot, but luckily for him he did not require Hawkeye to bail him out on this occasion as he managed to gather the loose ball as it trickled back towards the line. John McGinn's glancing header drifted wide of the far post in a rare Villa attack, but Mount was once again involved as Chelsea pushed for the opening goal. The England international threaded an inviting cross towards the back post, and Ruben Loftus-Cheek, playing his first Premier League game for over a year, was inches away from getting on the end of it. Then, totally against the run of play, the hosts took a shock lead. Anwar El Ghazi's close-range effort from Douglas Luiz's clipped ball into the box was blocked by goalkeeper Kepa Arrizabalaga, but House was on hand to tap in the rebound. Lampard, in his 100th game as a manager, would have been left scratching his head at the break as to how his side found themselves behind, but he did not have to wait long for a response. Chelsea were level just before the hour mark when Pulisic, who had replaced Loftus-Cheek just 5 minutes earlier, finished Cesar Azpilicueta's cross at the far post. Just 2 minutes later and the turnaround was complete when Giroud's shot from near the penalty spot deflected off Conor Hurrihan and past Nyland. Willian went close to adding a third as Chelsea looked to close the game out, but they were nearly made to pay when substitute Hota curled inches wide of the far post with just minutes remaining. Villa had 5 minutes of stoppage time to rescue something from the game, but it was Chelsea who held on for their first away victory in the calendar year. Normally a key player at the back for Chelsea, Azpilicueta popped up with 2 crucial assists as his side came from a goal down to seal victory. The Chelsea skipper provided 2 assists in a single Premier League game for only the second time in his 263-game English top-flight career, also doing so versus Stoke in September.
Disappointing for the lads because of the effort they put into it.
And is that just the result, or was there more to that?
John McGinn's had the header in the first half. Hotter's had the one at the end there. So I was, frustrated at the end.
And frustrating as well because it's literally just 2 minutes of the match that's cost you.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I was probably more frustrated at the end because Jack's running through with 2 players either side of him and he gets brought down. By Kante, who should have took a yellow card about 5 minutes earlier. And it should be off the pitch. But, all in all, I can't ask for any more effort from the players. We're playing against a quality opposition, and we knew we would have to defend manfully, and I thought we did that. And disappointed for the players that they didn't get anything today.
Jack looked a bit wound up by the end. Is that an accumulation of fouls on him?
I think you want to see the stud marks going down his thigh to see why he was wound up. It was a naughty tackle. He's pulled him back, and the momentum takes Jack into Rudiger, I think it was, and he's got plenty of stud marks down his thigh. So I fully understand why he was wound up, and the fact that he didn't touch Marcus Alonso and gets yellow carded as well.
Frank Lampard has just done his interview and talked about maybe making his changes a little bit earlier in the game in the second half than he would have done, because obviously the new rules, and I do remember you being against the rules because they would favour the big clubs. So have we seen that today?
Listen, I said from the start it's going to favour the big clubs. You only have to look at the nine names on the Chelsea subs bench today to know that it favours the big clubs there today. So I made my views about that at the start, and at the start of this the restart. there's nothing that I've seen in the big clubs' benches at the moment to tell me otherwise.
So, overall mood, optimism about staying in the league after what you've seen this week. Obviously, points-wise, probably not quite what you wanted, but performance-wise.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we were good against Sheffield United. We feel that that's one that's got away with our performance that day. Today, Chelsea have got better players than us, and they've got the win, but we made them work very hard for it. And on another day, if a couple of our chances had gone in, we could have got something out of that.
Did you think it was a good performance today?
I thought it was a good defensive performance.
Wanted more on the ball?
Yeah, it's hard though, because we were starved of the ball a lot with their quality. But we plugged holes, we got blocks in when we needed to. It's a tough one to defend. It's a great cross for the first goal. And Pulisic just, I think he's actually studied the ball into the ground and it's bounced, into the roof of the net. So, a little bit unfortunate with the goals.
Yeah, they were important. It's the individuals that make the difference, not so much the manager. You can claim it when it comes off, but I'm really pleased with them.
The new rules with the substitutions mean you made them a shade earlier than you might have done?
Maybe, but the reason the rules are there is because all teams are struggling for fitness, but this is not the norm, and we have to also protect the players over this tight period of games with the ability to make changes, because players will struggle to get through the games. It's very different circumstances to normal, but yeah, it does affect your thinking. I felt we controlled all the game pretty much anyway, other for moments which sometimes we brought on ourselves, but we needed a bit of impact, we needed a bit of something different, and we found it.
Were you ever worried? Because like you said, you did have control, but you were also behind.
Yeah, no, I was worried because I've seen it before this season with us. We play really well, we get up to the box, we get behind their full-backs and we're crossing in the box and balls are flashing across the face, and then we have a moment where we recreate that stuff in training all the time, but if there are individual errors or collective errors and they score, the whole tone of the game changes. So they were always then going to sit back and protect, and thankfully we got our goal at a really good time.
He stood over there doing an interview, Olivier Giroud. He repaid your faith today, didn't he, with a goal?
Yeah, he did, and Ollie he doesn't have to necessarily repay my faith. I think he deserves to start. As I mentioned before, how he trains, his personality, the professional he is, and then the qualities that he has. Clearly, he scored goals all throughout his career. So, yeah, he was big for us today, big for us in terms of the person, and big as a player because he gets the deflected winner.
Deflected? I just said that to him. I said own goal.
I scored a fair few deflections myself. Nothing wrong with that. And they hit the back of the net and they all count.
How did you find it, the new normal?
Yeah, okay, it's what it is, and it's football at the end of the day. When the players get on the pitch, it's who can try and approach that in the best way. When the players are there, I know we need to try and generate our own urgency, our own atmosphere with the speed of our passing and with the aggression in the way we play. I think everybody will probably improve at that because it's so different, but I enjoyed it. We're back doing what we love.
It's gone actually, not just with your own win, but results around you. It's gone well since it's come back, hasn't it?
Well, yeah, but there's a long way to go. It was like that before lockdown. It was, 1 week you get a result, it looks good, the next week you don't so much. We felt we wanted to capitalise on a few results with this game because we've got tough games. Every game is tough at the moment. It was new for us, not so new for Aston Villa today. So there were things that we're not sure about going into the game, but I thought the players handled it pretty well, to be fair. There were some bits that we need to improve on, without a doubt. It wasn't a foolproof performance, but it's a good start.
And just lastly, on the 100 games, does it feel like it's getting easier?
No, it's not getting easier. No, it's not. It's not the emotions on the side, because when it's 2-1 at the end and they're getting free kicks or they're getting balls in the box, it's difficult. But when I say that, it is something we love, and I'm just pleased for the club. We work for the club. I want us to do well. I want to be successful, and we're all in this together. So we've got our result today and we move on.
Well,